Hi. In this lesson we will finish our topic of possessive pronouns. We have seen the possessive pronouns and how they change their ending, whether they refer to masculine, feminine, plural, and or singular nouns, okay? Now we will see these examples for each one of these six. Let's begin by seeing the meaning of some new words, okay? Actually, these are not new words, but let's review them. El mejor means the best. If you remember when we studied the superlatives and the comparatives, el mejor means the best. Mejor without the el means better, right? So this is better and this is the best. Better, the best. Verdes means green, but it's plural, so means green referring to a plural noun, right? Pantalón is pants or trousers. However, the word for trousers in Spanish is a singular word, right? And in English it's plural, pants, trousers, okay? Azul is blue, negro, black. Más means more. Rápido is fast. Más rápido means faster, although literally it would mean more fast, right? Comienzan means begin. Hoy means today. Mañana, tomorrow. Zapatos means shoes. Más, again, more. Lindos, beautiful. Actually, lindos ends with an S, as you can see here. It means it is a plural adjective, right? It refers to a plural noun, which is zapatos, shoes, okay? Also, zapatos is plural and masculine. So, lindo, lindos is plural and masculine. You can see that because it ends with OS, OS, okay? Let's begin with the first sentence. El mío es el mejor. El mío es el mejor. Mine is the best, right? So these are the possessive pronouns, okay? Mine is the best. El mío es el mejor. Los tuyos son verdes. Los tuyos son verdes. Yours are green. Mi pantalón es azul. El suyo es negro. Mi pantalón es azul. El suyo es negro. Now take a look at this. Here we are using a possessive adjective. This one here is the possessive pronoun, okay? You see that the possessive pronouns, they before the possessive pronoun you have an article that refers to the implied noun, okay? Same as here, same as here, same as here, okay? For example, when we say el mío es el mejor, we are saying mine is the best, but we don't know what is mine that is the best, right? Here we are omitting the noun. However, In this case, we know that the noun is masculine and it is singular because the article is el mío, the mine, it would be, right? Los tuyos, the yours are green, or yours are green. We know that obviously we can, through the context, we can know that we are talking about the eyes. If we say yours are green, it can be the eyes, it can be anything else, okay? But we can see that the noun is plural and it is masculine because it says los tuyos, right? Mi pantalón es azul, el suyo es negro, his is black, right? El suyo. Since we are talking about el pantalón, this is a new sentence, and although we omit the word pantalón for pants, however, the article is masculine singular for pantalón, right? Now, el nuestro es el auto más rápido. El nuestro es el auto más rápido. This means the ours, or ours, is the car more fast, right? Or ours is the fastest car. Again, you see, this is the possessive pronoun. You see? Ours. Here again we have another example where we have a possessive adjective, and later in the second sentence we have the possessive pronoun, okay? So this is the possessive adjective, this is the possessive pronoun, right? Here, nuestras clases comienzan hoy, las vuestras mañana. Nuestras clases comienzan hoy, las vuestras mañana. This means our classes begin today. Yours, or the yours, tomorrow. Okay? And our last example for theirs. Los suyos son los zapatos más lindos. Los suyos son los zapatos más lindos. This means theirs, or the theirs, are the shoes more beautiful, or theirs are the most beautiful shoes. Okay? Los suyos son los zapatos más lindos. Right? Los suyos is the possessive pronoun. And you see that here we mentioned the noun, los zapatos. However, in the article that precedes the possessive pronoun, this one, right? Los. You see, you're not saying los what, the what. The noun here is omitted. It's implied in the article. Los suyos. Later we mention the noun here. Los suyos son los zapatos más lindos. Theirs are the most beautiful shoes. Same as here. Los tuyos son verdes. Yours are green. But we can also say yours are green eyes. We would say los tuyos son ojos verdes, right? One more thing. As you can see, all these are affirmative sentences. However, in Spanish, they can all be as well interrogative sentences. You just need to add a question mark at the beginning and at the end for each one of all these sentences, and then it's already a question. right? When you speak it aloud, you... Welcome back, guys. In today's Spanish lesson, I want to talk about huge numbers like these, right? And although we usually do not use these huge numbers in our everyday life, however, when we read the newspaper or when we read the economic or financial section, we come across these numbers when talking about economy, about GDP growth and things like that. And the reason why I want to speak of this is to clarify a very common confusion between English and Spanish that causes translations in Spanish newspapers to be incorrect. I frequently come across incorrect information in Spanish newspapers. I don't mean Spanish only from Spain, I mean Spanish from Spanish-speaking countries. And when they take economic information such as GDP growth or recession, when speaking about billions and trillions of dollars, and they take that figure from an English interview and they translate it into Spanish to publish it in the newspaper, that information is very often wrong. And this is the reason why it is wrong. We have between English and Spanish what we call false friend words. Okay, words that are identical but that have different meaning, and that causes the confusions. So I titled my topic for today, Huge Numbers, Typical Confusion Between English and Spanish. So let's begin with this number, 1 million, okay? 1 million. This is how we call it in English, 1 million when we have 6 zeros, right? In Spanish it's easy, it's un millón. Un millón. You see, you write it very similarly, it's almost identical, and it means the same thing. However, when we have 3 more zeros, it gets a bit more confusing, because here we have 9 zeros. This is what in English we call 1 billion, right? However, in Spanish this is not un billón, this is mil millones. Mil millones. This literally means 1,000 millions, okay? So, while this is called 1 billion in English, in Spanish they call it 1,000 millions. Mil millones. Here we have 10 billions in English. But in Spanish this will be 10,000 millones. That is 10,000 millions. This is 100 billions, right? 100 billions. But in Spanish this is 100,000 millones, or 100,000 millions. 100,000 millions, okay? 100,000 millions. And here we have 12 zeros. 12 zeros. Look at these. We have 4 sets of 3 zeros each. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 12 zeros in the 1. In English we call this 1 trillion. Yes? 1 trillion. And when we talk about the GDP of the United States of America, we talk of trillions, right? However, if we translate this into Spanish to publish into a Spanish-speaking press, right? We cannot speak of trillones, right? But of billones. This, what in English is 1 trillion, in Spanish is un billón. You see? 12 zeros is 1 trillion in English and is un billón in Spanish. You see how confusing this gets? So, what would be 1 trillion in Spanish? If we want to talk of 1 trillion in Spanish, or un trillón. Un trillón in Spanish would be this. Very long number. This is 1 million, right? This is 1 billion or mil millones. This is 1 billion or un billón. This is 1 trillion or mil billones in Spanish. And this is what we call 1 billion in 1 trillion in Spanish. Yes, 1 trillion in Spanish. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, 1 trillion in Spanish. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 zeros. This is un trillón. And in English this would be, let's see, 1 million, a billion, trillion. It doesn't make any sense to see what it is in English, but this is un trillón in Spanish. Let's write it down. This is such a huge number in Spanish that we almost never see this written anywhere. Okay? Un trillón. However, incorrectly, many times we can read in the newspapers the word un trillón because it has been incorrectly translated from English 1 trillion as un trillón. That's why I wanted to show you this topic, okay? One more thing I want to show you is the differences between the English and Spanish numerical notation. You can see that in English we use the commas to separate the zeros, right? To divide the groups of zeros, groups of 3, right? Just to make it more clear to the vision. Instead of having all these zeros together, we group them in groups of 3 divided by commas. In Spanish, however, we use the point or the dot to divide the zeros. And while in English we use the dot or the point to divide the units from the decimals, in Spanish is the other way around. We use the comma here, right? So while in English we would say 1000.0, in Spanish we would say 1000,000, right? This would be 2,530,350.30. This would be in Spanish 2,530,350,30. Okay? So I hope this is clear, and so you won't have this confusion that is so unfortunately common. So this is the end of the lesson. Goodbye. Welcome back, guys. In today's lesson we will see the preposition de. The preposition de is formed with letters de, e. So D and E. De, e. So the preposition de has several meanings, several functions. One of them is it indicates whose is something. So it indicates belonging or possession, right? That is the meaning we will focus on in this first part of the whiteboard, right? But preposition de has many more functions, right? And not only as a preposition but also as a prefix and several other functions that we will see later on. It's a very used word. So, as usual, you can see in green is the translation or the meaning in English of the sentences I have written in Spanish in black. So, de, we could translate it as of, right? The word of in English. Let's begin with the first sentence. Este es el libro de Jorge. Right? This is Jorge's book. This is the book of Jorge. That's the word by word translation. Este es el libro de Jorge. We can also say this like this. Este es su libro. Okay? Or this is his book. In this second example, we are using the preposition su or his, right? But when we use the preposition de, of, we are being more specific, we are giving more information. In this case, we are saying not only that it's his book, we are saying that it is the book of Jorge, right? So it's easy because you can replace it with the word of to get the meaning, right? This is the book of Jorge, right? This is Jorge's book. El pelo del gato es gris. El pelo del gato es gris. This means the hair of the cat is gray, right? Or the cat's hair is gray. How else can we say this? We can say su pelo es gris. Su pelo es gris. Its hair is gray. And here we are using this preposition, su, right? Its. Again, here we are just saying its hair is gray. But here we are giving more information. We are saying the hair of the cat is gray, right? So we are giving more information. We are using the preposition of, de, okay? Of the cat. And look at this here. When the preposition de is followed by the article el, the singular masculine article del, you don't say de el. You actually how do you say? You just make it. You shorten the word like this. Look. Oops, no more ink. Let's change color. Instead of saying de el, we just say del, right? We eliminate one letter E and we put them together. Right? So, del means de el, means de and the article, okay? So you never say de el, of the, you say del. However, if you want to say of the, but using the feminine article la, yes, you do keep them separate, like different words, de la. If it is de el, you say del, okay? So, las paredes de la casa son blancas. The walls of the house are white. We can also say sus paredes son blancas. Its walls are white. Right? But if we provide more information of the house, right, we use the preposition de. Este auto es de él. This car is of him, of he, right? Or this is his car. Este auto es suyo. We can use the preposition suyo, okay? But if we want to be more specific of him, of he, then we use de él. So, look at this. Here we write de él, and here, however, we abbreviate del, right? Why is that? And the reason is that this and this are different words. It's not the same word. This is the article el, masculine singular article el, right? The. And this with a tilde on the e means he. This means he. So it's different words. You actually abbreviate the el, replacing it with del, like here, when you have the article el. But when you have the word, the pronoun, the subject pronoun el, like here with a tilde, then you do not replace it with del. So you keep them separate, like separate words. Like here, este auto es de él. This car is of he, right? Or this is his car. Este auto es suyo. This car is his. And one more example here. Este es el auto de ella. This is the car of her or of she, translating word by word. We can say it, este es el auto suyo. This is the car, hers, right? So here we are using pronoun suyo, and here we are using preposition de, okay? Well, now we will see examples of de as preposition, but with a different function, right? For example, la torta de chocolate. La torta de chocolate means the chocolate cake. Word by word would be the cake of chocolate. Yes. Still, de means of, as you can see. La casa de madera is the house of wood. La casa de madera. The house of wood. You see word by word translation. El señor de Londres. The guy from London. The guy of London. But here actually in English it takes the word from. You see, de would be from. The guy from London. Why don't we say el hombre de Londres? El hombre de Londres would be okay, but it's more general, would be the man from London. However, if we want to individualize the man from London, we can say the guy from London, el señor de Londres. I think the meaning is not transmitted so well into English, but in Spanish you're individualizing the man a bit more than if you say the man from London. El niño de enfrente. El niño de enfrente. This means the boy of... Hi everybody. Today I want to speak a bit more of pronunciation and phonetics in Spanish. I know that many of you are having problems to pronounce some sounds in Spanish, like the R. So today I want to show you some examples so I can repeat them aloud and try to help you through the video, although I cannot see you when you do it, but perhaps it can help you a bit to copy the right pronunciation, okay? Mainly with the letters R and J and G, right? Which have some sounds that are quite different than the English sounds. So the letter R, when it's when we have it at the beginning of a word and when we have it doubled in the middle of a word, like here, is a rough sound. R, okay? If not, it would be r, r, okay? A smoother sound. And J and G, when followed by I or E, sound okay? It's similar but much rougher to the English H, right? The English H has a smooth, like an exhalation, right? So the G and the J followed by I and E would sound okay? So let's begin. To the right I've written the meaning of these words that I want to show you, so we pronounce them together. Rio means river. So I have marked in green where the syllable ends and begins, right? So I have to separate it. Rio. Rio means river. So if you have difficulties to pronounce it, you can pronounce first the first syllable ri and later o. Ri, o. Rio. The accent is always where the tilde is, right? This word has a tilde, so we know that the pronunciation is Rio. Okay? This is to laugh. Reír. Reír has two syllables. Re-ir. You can see the difference between the pronunciation of the first R and the last one. R and R. Reír. Reír. Here we have arroz, rice. Arroz. First syllable a, later ros. Arroz. Armar means to assemble. Here we have a smoother R. Ar-mar. Two R's. These two R's are the same. Ar-mar. Altogether, armar. Carencia means lack of something. I have a lack of something. I have a carencia of something. Okay? These are three syllables. Ca-ren-cia. Ca-ren-cia. Carencia. Okay? Another smooth R. Now with J, this is ajo. Not ajo. It's ajo. It's rougher than the English H. Ajo. We can separate it in syllables. Ajo for garlic. For sunflower we have girasol. 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 You see, sunflower has mentions the sun, right? Here too. Sol is sun in Spanish. Gira means that it turns. Girasol means turns to the sun. Girasol. Here we have an example using the G and the R. Girasol. This word can be a bit more difficult for you because it has two double R's in the middle of the word. The word for railway is ferrocarril, right? Ferrocarril. Ferrocarril, if we separate it in four syllables like here, can be a bit easier to pronounce perhaps. Fe, ro, ca, ril. Fe, ro, ca, ril. Ferrocarril. Okay? And Esteban is just a given name, like Stephen. Okay? Esteban. Why am I showing you Esteban? Because I had a colleague called Esteban, and all the English-speaking people, they had huge troubles to pronounce his name. I never understood why, because for me it doesn't seem to have any of the complicated letters, right? But perhaps the vowels. But let's see. This would be Esteban. Esteban. And perhaps what makes it more difficult is how the vowels sound in Spanish that are quite different than in English. Because vowels in English, they have more than one sound. For example, A, the vowel A, right? In English, this is A, has E, two sounds. In Spanish, it's a flat sound, A. This is A. Vowel E in English has a flat sound, it's E, right? In Spanish it is E. Now, while in Spanish this has a flat name, E, in English it has two sounds. It's I, A-I, right? I. Same thing with O. In Spanish this is O, very flat, O. In English it is O, O-U. And U. In Spanish it is U, right? In English it is U, E-U, right? So perhaps that's the reason why I've seen people struggling to pronounce this word and this name and many other words that are similar, because of the vowels in Spanish need to be flat, totally flat, always. So this is Esteban, 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 okay? Esteban, not Esteban. For it to be Esteban, it should have a tilde here, and it does not. Like this, it is Esteban, okay? Now, the rules of how and when to use the tildes is something I'll teach you later on. Welcome back. In today's lesson we will learn some new sentences and mainly some typical helpful phrases that we may need to know if we are traveling. These are very few basic sentences, and later in some future lesson we will see some more, okay? But let's begin with these that it may be useful if you memorize, if you remember, so you can eventually use them whenever you need to, okay? In green, I've written the meaning in English of what I've written in black, okay? Our first sentence is, it's a question, ¿cuál es su nombre? ¿Cuál es su nombre? We can ask, what's your name? Like this, ¿cuál es su nombre? Or we can ask, ¿cómo se llama? Like here, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cuál es su nombre? ¿Cuál es su nombre? ¿Cómo se llama? Word by word, literally this would be, which is your name? And this would be, how are you called? Right? Mi nombre es Juan. Mi nombre es Juan. My name is Juan. Or we can answer, me llamo Juan. Me llamo Juan. That means I am called Juan. ¿Dónde está el museo? ¿Dónde está el museo? This is typical question when we are asking where is something, okay? Where is the museum? ¿Dónde está el museo? ¿Dónde está el baño? ¿Dónde está el baño? Where is the toilet? Está allí. It is there. It is there. Está allí. Está means it is. Remember that the verb, the subject pronoun, is implicit in the conjugated verb, right? So, although this means is, it actually means it is there. And for allí, you can say also allá. It's the same thing. They are synonyms. Está allá. It is there. Siga 3 cuadras y doble a la derecha. Siga 3 cuadras y doble a la derecha. This means go on 3 blocks and turn to the right. Siga 3 cuadras y doble a la derecha. Here, camine 2 cuadras y doble a la izquierda. Camine 2 cuadras y doble a la izquierda. This means, word by word, walk 2 blocks and turn to the left. If we want to ask how much does something cost, we would just ask ¿cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuánto cuesta? We can just ask that, ¿cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? Or we can add to the end the thing, the object that we are asking, how much does it cost, right? We can ask how much does the pen cost? ¿Cuánto cuesta la lapicera? Or ¿cuánto cuesta el auto? For how much does the car cost? Okay, so we begin the sentence with ¿cuánto cuesta? Okay, how much does it cost? The answer would be cuesta 1000 pesos. For it costs 1000 pesos. Okay, it costs 1000 pesos. Cuesta 1000 pesos. You can then say es demasiado caro. Es demasiado caro. This means it is too expensive, right? Demasiado means too, from too much. Caro is expensive, barato is cheap. So we can also say qué barato. Qué barato means how cheap. Qué barato. So, okay, these are some very simple, basic sentences that can be useful in Spanish or can be used as a base for building more sentences in the future, okay? So we will see some more sentences later on. Hi again. Today I want to teach you the names of the parts of the body, okay? And starting with the head, with the upper part. Let's see, in Spanish this is called las partes del cuerpo. The parts of the body. Las partes del cuerpo. Okay, let's these are all from the neck up. The forehead, cabeza. Cabeza. Okay? So excuse my terrible drawing, but I've never been good with this. So cabeza would be the whole head. Then pelo or cabello for hair, okay? The hair is pelo or cabello. That's a masculine word. Let's see. Cabeza is la cabeza. It's feminine word. El pelo or el cabello is el. It's a masculine word. Pelo, hair, pelo, can be used for animals and for humans. However, cabello is only used for humans, the hair of the people. Cabello. So pelo is more generic. Frente, for forehead, is a feminine word. La. La frente. The forehead here, okay? El ojo or los ojos is masculine for eye or for eyes, right? Ojos. For the ears, we have orejas. Orejas, or one ear is una oreja. This is a feminine word. La oreja, okay? Or las orejas for plural. We have the ears, orejas. Nariz for the nose, okay? Nariz is a feminine word. It is la nariz. La nariz. The nose. For mouth, the mouth is feminine word as well. La boca. La boca. For labios, we have, it's a masculine word. Los labios, right? Or el. We want to speak of one lip, okay? So it would be el labio, the lip, or los labios, for the lips, okay? Dientes would be teeth. This is masculine, right? El diente for the tooth and los dientes for the teeth, right? El diente, los dientes. The word for tongue is lengua. Lengua. Lengua is a feminine word, so it is la lengua. La lengua. Mandíbula, jaw, the jaw is la mandíbula. It is feminine. La mandíbula. The cheeks, okay? The cheeks. That is cachete or cachetes, right? It's masculine word. It's a masculine noun. El cachete for the cheek, or los cachetes for the cheeks. So the plural would be with los, masculine plural article, los cachetes. The word for chin, here the chin, is pera. Pera. Pera is a feminine word. La pera. This is la pera. Actually, it is the same word that we use for the word for the fruit, pear. The pear, the fruit, is also called la pera, right? So it's a word that has two meanings. The chin, la pera. And for the neck, we have el cuello here. It is el, masculine noun. Cuello. Remember that double L is read yo. Cuello. Cuello. Okay? El cuello. The neck. Now, take a look. All the nouns that end in A are feminine, right? Like cabeza is La cabeza, the head. La oreja or las orejas for the ears. La boca for the mouth is feminine. La lengua, the tongue, is feminine. La mandíbula is feminine for the jaw. La pera is feminine, right? The chin. And all the words that end in O here are masculine. This is the rule in Spanish, okay? El pelo or el cabello is the hair, it's masculine. El pelo, el cabello. El ojo for, or los ojos for the eyes. El labio or los labios for the cheek, for the lips. The lips are el labio, los labios, masculine. We have cuello for the neck. El cuello. El cuello is the neck, another masculine noun. And now we have those other words that do not end neither with A nor with O, right? And these, it's a bit more difficult to recognize whether they are feminine or masculine. So this is probably just by memorization, okay? Here would be la frente for the forehead. La frente doesn't end with A like a typical feminine noun. It ends with an E. La frente. La nariz for the nose ends with a Z. Right? And then we have for the masculines el diente, masculine, for the tooth. El diente ends with an E instead of with an O, like typical masculine nouns. And el cachete, for the cheek. It's another masculine noun that ends with an E, okay? Well, these are the first parts of the names for the parts of the body we will be learning, and next lesson we'll continue with the rest of the body. Hi again. Today we will finish seeing and learning the parts of the body in Spanish. We have los nombres de las partes del cuerpo. Los nombres de las partes del cuerpo. That is the names of the parts of the body. Remember that the el of the, when it is el masculine singular, you shorten it del, right? This is de el, when el is a article, right? This would be wrong. You have to write it like this, del. Okay. In our previous lesson, we learned the parts of the body from the neck up. Now we will continue with the rest. We have los hombros for the shoulders. Los hombros, that is a masculine word, right? It would be el hombro for one shoulder, los hombros for both shoulders, in plural. La espalda for the back. It's a feminine word, la, ending in A, typical feminine word. El pecho, it means both the breast for the women or the chest for the man. El pecho is a masculine word. El pecho or los pechos, plural, el pecho, singular. El abdomen, very similar to English, right? The abdomen. So it's also a masculine word, el abdomen. La cintura for the waist, a feminine word, la. Los brazos for the arms, right? Two arms, los brazos, plural masculine. If we want to say one arm, we would say el brazo, el, the masculine singular article. The hands are a feminine noun. Las manos for the hands, or la mano for one hand, the hand. Now look at this. This is irregular because mano, the word for hand, ends in an O, you see? So it should be masculine, right? However, it is a feminine noun, la mano, okay? So the plural would be las manos. You simply add an S. For fingers, now it's a masculine word, los dedos. Dedos is plural, the fingers, so it's los. If we want to say just one finger, singular, we will say el dedo, right? El, this is the masculine singular article, and dedo without the S. For legs, we have las piernas. Las piernas. Piernas. And this is a feminine word. So, for both legs, plural, las piernas. For one leg will be la pierna without the S. The knees. The knees are las rodillas. Las rodillas. For one single knee would be la rodilla without both S's. Okay? The feet are los pies. Okay? Los pies. And for one single foot, it's el pie. Okay? We just remove the S for pies, and we have the singular, el pie. And later we have las uñas. Las uñas are the nails. Okay? This is a feminine word. One nail is la uña. Many nails are las uñas, the nails, okay? Now, for fingers, look, we have los dedos means both fingers and toes, right? So in Spanish there is not a special word for the toes, for the fingers of your feet. So los dedos is for the fingers and the hands and for your toes. So here we have masculine and the feminine words, okay? Let's see. This is a typical masculine word that ends in O, right? This is a typical feminine word that ends in A. Typical masculine word, el pecho, ending in O. This one is not so evident, right? The abdomen. We just need to know it is masculine. El abdomen. El abdomen. La cintura for the waist. This is a typical feminine word ending in A. Los brazos or el brazo, typical masculine word ending in O. And this is an irregularity. This is a feminine word that ends in O, okay? Las manos. Now this is a typical masculine word ending in O. Typical feminine noun ending in A, typical feminine noun ending in A. This one is not evident, right? It's a masculine noun ending in ES. And this is a typical feminine noun ending in A. Okay? Well, so this is all as for the parts of the body. So this is the end of today's lesson. So just remember, if you liked the lessons or if you find them interesting or helpful, if they are helping you, just you can click on like in the YouTube videos or just subscribe to my channel. Okay, have a nice day. Hi there. Today in this lesson we will learn countable and uncountable for few and for little, because in lesson 32, that's long ago, we've seen countable and uncountable for many and plenty, right? Many in Spanish is muchos for masculine or muchas for feminine, and plenty in Spanish is mucho for masculine and mucha for feminine, right? So muchos and mucho, or muchas and mucha, right? That's the difference between, that's many and plenty in Spanish. But we didn't see little and few, and that's what I want to show you now. That is as important as many and plenty. So we have for countable, we have poco for masculine, pocos and pocas, depending whether the noun it refers to is a masculine noun or a feminine noun, right? Pocos, pocas. This is few, right? Countable. And for uncountable or little, we have poco and poca, depending on the noun being masculine or feminine. Yes? Ending in O for masculine, ending in A for feminine. So, in green I have written the meaning of these new words, of these nouns that you may have forgotten or some we haven't seen before, right? So let's begin with the uncountable, right? With the few. With the little, right? Let's start with uncountable, with little. Let we say, when talking about the sun, about sun, right? Not about the object sun. But when in Spanish, when there is not much, when it's not sunny, right? It's not very sunny, it's rather cloudy, we say in Spanish, hay poco sol, right? And that literally means there is little sun, right? Although in English it sounds awkward. In Spanish it's a used expression. We say hay poco sol. Poco sol, right? Also, when talking about education, we say poca educación. Let's see, educación. 4 syllables. So, poca educación, ending in A, because educación is a feminine noun. However, sol is a masculine noun. That's why we say poco, ending in an O. If we want to talk about people, right, we say poca gente. Gente is people. It is uncountable. That's why we say poca. It's would be in English. This would be little people. Okay, and gente is a feminine noun. That's why we say poca. Now, when talking about cold, it's also uncountable. We say poco frío, right? And frío is a masculine noun, ending in O, and so we say poco. And for rain, lluvia is a feminine noun. Lluvia, we say poca lluvia, little rain, or a little rain. Water is also uncountable. We say poca agua, poca agua. And since agua is a feminine noun, we say poca with an A. Food is also uncountable. We say poca comida, poca comida. And as you can see, comida is a feminine noun. And however, look at this here. This is the same thing as in English, right? We say food is uncountable. However, if we talk about dishes, that is countable, right? In Spanish, it's the same. Platos are dishes. It's masculine, right? Un plato for one dish. Muchos platos, many dishes. And pocos platos, masculine, as you can see, right? Pocos platos means few dishes, countable. The word platos literally means plates, right? The object plate where you serve your food. Un plato, muchos platos. But it's also used for dishes, right? So the other meaning of the word plato is dishes. Now, this is, look at this here. When we talk about garments or pieces of clothes, right? We say pocas prendas, right? It's countable. The word prendas is the plural for garment, right? Una prenda, singular, one garment. Prendas with S is a plural. Pocas prendas, as you can see, it's feminine. Means few garments. However, if we talk about clothes, clothes is the general for an abstract of garments, right? And however, in English, the word clothes is a plural word. In Spanish, the word ropa, that means clothes, is a singular word, right? Ropa is singular. And also, in English, the word clothes is countable. However, in Spanish, the word ropa is uncountable. So we say poca ropa. We say little clothes, right? In English, we would say few clothes. In Spanish, we would use the word little because it is uncountable. Poca ropa. As you can see, ropa is a feminine noun, so it's poca ropa. So we continue with the countable, right? We've seen these two. If we talk about glasses of water, it's also countable, right? Pocos vasos de agua. Few glasses of water. Vasos is, as you can see, masculine. That's why we say pocos, few. Now trees, árboles. Pocos árboles. Árboles, 3 syllables. Árboles. It's masculine noun. Pocos árboles. Now the trees have leaves, right? Hojas means leaves. Hojas are also sheets of paper, right? If you remove the S, you have the singular. It's a feminine noun. So hoja or hojas can mean sheets of paper or leaves or leaf, okay? So pocas hojas means few leaves. Now persons, we say pocas personas. It's also feminine. And personas, personas is countable, right? Unlike gente, people, that is uncountable. Friends are also countable. That's why we say pocos amigos for few friends, or muchos amigos if we wanted to say many friends. And the last one, things or cosas. We say pocas cosas. Pocas cosas. These are few things, right? The word for cosa is feminine, so we say pocas. Okay? Okay, this is all about countable and countable for little and few, and in our next lesson I will show you some sentences using pocos, pocas, poco, poca, and mucho, mucha, muchos, muchas for many and plenty. So I see you next time. Hi there. Today I promised you I would show you some examples using countable and uncountable, right? So using little and few that we've seen in our previous lesson, and using many and plenty that we have seen in lesson number 32. So in green I have written the meaning of the sentences I've written on the left hand side of the whiteboard. However, in some cases there is not a word by word meaning, right? Like in the first example, for instance, right? So let's begin with these sentences. First, let's underline. Mucho is masculine for plenty, right? Muchos is masculine for many. Mucha is feminine for plenty. Muchas is feminine for many. Poco is masculine for little. Pocos is masculine for few. Poca is feminine for little, and pocas is feminine for few. Okay? So, hoy tengo mucho calor. Hoy tengo mucho calor. This means today I feel very hot. However, the word by word translation of this would be today I have plenty of heat, right? Because when you talk about feeling cold or hot, right, about a feeling, in Spanish you say I have that, okay? I have plenty of that, of heat, of cold, of whatever, right? You can also use sentir, that means to feel. You can say hoy siento mucho calor, today I feel plenty of hot, of heat. But tengo, the verb to have, is also very often, very frequently used to mean to feel something, okay? So you have the feeling, right? You have heat, hotness, or coldness. That's how you can say in Spanish, and you usually do say in Spanish, I feel hot or I feel cold. So, hoy tengo mucho calor. Uncountable, okay? Tengo means I have. Remember, in Spanish we do omit the subject. We usually omit the subject because the subject pronoun is already implied in the conjugated verb, right? Since there is one conjugation for every subject pronoun in Spanish, you can already omit the person, because just by looking at this word tengo, I know it refers to I, to yo, right? All these tiene, tengo, they come from the verb tener. That means to have. Yes? Verb to have. Verbo tener. Okay, sentence number 2. Juan tiene muchos amigos. Juan has many friends. Yes? Of course, you can also omit Juan if you want. You can just say, if you say tiene muchos amigos, that means he has many friends, okay? The subject pronoun he would already be implied in the verb tiene, right? But here we are adding more information. We are saying the name of the person. Juan tiene muchos amigos. Now for uncountable, for plenty, we can say ella tiene mucha plata. She has plenty of money. Plata means money. Actually, plata literally means silver, but it's used for money. And the other word that also means money in Spanish is dinero, okay? Dinero, masculine, el dinero, means the money. Plata is a synonym for dinero, but plata is feminine noun, okay? Ese árbol tiene muchas hojas. That tree has many leaves. You see, muchas is feminine, countable. Hojas is a feminine noun, so we say muchas with an A. Hoy corrí muy poco. Hoy corrí muy poco. Corrí is the past tense for the verb correr, to run. This is conjugated in the first person, right? For yo, for I. So this means, today I run very little. Or we can also omit muy, right? We can just say, hoy corrí poco. Today I ran little, right? So this is uncountable, right? We say, I ran little, same as in English. We don't say I ran many. We don't say I ran few. We say I ran little. In English, in Spanish, it's the same. Hoy corrí poco. It's uncountable. Anoche vinieron pocos amigos. Anoche vinieron pocos amigos. Anoche means last night. Last night came few friends, right? So friends, masculine word, so we say pocos, masculine plural. And it's obviously countable, right? Vinieron is the past tense for they, for the third person of the plural, right? Of the verb venir, that means to come. Traje poca ropa. I brought this would be few, and this would mean clothes. And but actually, as we said in the previous lesson, clothes is, in English, it is countable. That's why we don't say little clothes. We say few clothes, right? But in Spanish, ropa is uncountable. That's why we say traje poca ropa. Okay? Little ropa, or clothes. Traje is the past tense of the verb traer, to bring, right? Traer, to bring. Traje is past tense for the first person, for I or yo. Traje pocas prendas. Now this is uncountable, right? Because prendas is actually garments, and garments or pieces of clothes is countable. So we say pocas prendas, unlike here we say poca ropa, okay? So traje, or I brought, few garments. Okay, that's the end for today's lesson. Have a nice day. Hi. In today's lesson we will see how to conjugate the verb ser. The verb ser is verb to be. The English verb to be is ser. However, the English verb to be has a wider range of meanings than the Spanish verb ser. Actually, if we want to translate to be into Spanish, we have to say that to be can either be verbo ser or verbo estar, right? So these two very important Spanish verbs correspond to the English verb to be. And I strongly recommend you to watch my 4th lesson, right, where I talk about the differences between the verbo estar and the verbo ser, right, which both mean verb to be in English, but so you can see when you have to use one and when you have to use the other one. So if you have already seen the 4th lesson, lesson number 4, and that was a long time ago, I strongly recommend you watch it one more time, right? Because now we will only see how to conjugate verbo ser, okay? To be. We will conjugate it in present, past tense, and future, okay? And if you remember, I taught you already this way of conjugating the future tense in Spanish. This is the simple way, the one I taught you, because this one is very similar to the English future, right? Because we use an auxiliary verb, yes? Same as in English, you use the verb will, to will, right? To build the future, and then you use a verb in infinitive, right? I will go, right? In Spanish, you can use this, build the future tense with the verb to go, conjugated into the right person, and then the word a, that means to, and the verb in infinitive, okay? So this is the most similar way to the future tense in English that we have. And then we have the other way of conjugating the future in Spanish is just conjugating the whatever verb it is into the future tense, right? But this means that you have to learn the future tense conjugation for every verb in Spanish, okay? Of course, there are rules for the regular verbs, right? But we have 3 groups of verbs: the ones ending in ar, the ones ending in er, and the ones ending in ir, right? Those are 3 different rules for conjugating regular verbs. And in addition to that, we have all the irregular verbs. That's why I strongly recommend you to learn this one. That will be the easiest way for you to conjugate a future tense, right? Because you just change the verb in infinitive here at the end, right? This will be the verb in infinitive. You just add whatever other verb you want to conjugate into future tense, right? You put it here at the end in infinitive, and then you have already a future tense. Okay, let's begin with the present tense of verb to be, ser. Yo soy, I am. Tú eres, you are. Él es, or ella es, for he is or she is. Nosotros somos, we are. Vosotros sois, you are. Or ustedes son, also you are, you plural, right? And again, I will remind you, vosotros sois and ustedes son are synonyms, only that vosotros is the form used in Spain, and ustedes is what is used in Latin America. Okay, and both are correct. And ellos son, for they are. Ellos son. And take a look. Always, ustedes, the you plural used in Latin America, and ellos, they always have the same conjugation. Son, son. And this same conjugation is for all the verbs in Spanish and in all. The verb ser, or to be, in past tense will be yo fui. Yo fui, for I was. Tú fuiste, you were. Él fue, or ella fue, for he was or she was. Nosotros fuimos, for we were. Vosotros fuisteis, for you were, plural. Fuisteis, fuisteis, 2 syllables. Ustedes fueron, again, for you, plural, right? Spain and Latin America. Ellos fueron, they were. So again, see how the conjugation for ustedes and ellos is identical, right? Always. So here you can add whatever. They were, whatever you want to add. For example, they were friends. Ellos fueron amigos. Okay? So then you can end the word with whatever you want. And the sentence with any predicate you want. So the future tense I taught you before is like this. Remember, I told you you have the subject, right? Plus verb ir, or verb to go, conjugated, right? Conjugated. Plus a, that means to, and plus verb in infinitive. Okay? Right? So we have the subject, yo or I, then verb to go, voy, conjugated, then a, that means to, and the verb, here in this case, verb to be. Okay? Yo voy a ser means I will be, or I am going to be. Okay? Yo voy a ser. Tú vas a ser. You will be. Él va a ser, or ella va a ser. He will be, or she will be, or he is going to be, as you wish. Nosotros vamos a ser. Nosotros vamos a ser. We will be. Vosotros vais a ser. You, plural. You will be. Ustedes van a ser. You will be, plural again. And ellos van a ser. They will be. Okay? Again, see how these two are identical in the conjugation, okay? Van a ser and van a ser. However, these two are synonyms, vosotros and ustedes. Again, vosotros is what they use in Spain. Ustedes is how they speak in Latin America. And this structure works for building any verb into future, right? So for example, if you want to use into future the verb to run, okay, we can say yo voy a correr. Correr is a verb to run in infinitive, right? Correr. Tú vas a correr. Él va a correr, right? So we just replace this verb in infinitive with whatever verb in infinitive we want to say in the future tense, okay? In the future. So this is the other way of building the future in Spanish, right? This one means that you have to learn the conjugation for every verb and for every person, right? That's why you can actually cope. You can deal with this one when you want to speak in Spanish. But I will also show you this. Yo seré, I will be. Tú serás, you will be. Él será, or ella será, for he will be or she will be. Nosotros seremos, vosotros seréis, ustedes serán, ellos serán. Okay? This is the conjugation of the verb ser into the future. Okay? So I will show you some sentences with these conjugations, right? I will show you some sentences using the verb to be in present, past, and future in our next lesson, okay? And then we will continue with some other very important verbs in Spanish. I want at least to teach you how to conjugate in present, past, and future the most essential verbs of the Spanish language. And those I need you to really memorize them, right? So we can use them in the future. And these verbs will be ser and estar, which correspond to the verb to be in English. Haber and tener, which correspond to the verb to have in English. The verb tener also means to have, right? So you can see how important it is. And some other few verbs that will be quite important if that you learn them. Okay, so I see you next class. As I mentioned before, in this lesson we will see some sentences using the verb ser, or to be, in the past, present, and future tenses. So if you haven't seen my previous lesson where I show how to conjugate verb ser into past, present, and future, I strongly recommend you go to that previous lesson and see how to conjugate it into all these tenses, okay? As you can see here in green, I have written the meaning of these sentences on the left hand side of the whiteboard, okay? Let's begin with the first one. Yo soy Rodrigo. This means I am Rodrigo. This is the verb to be, ser, verbo ser, in present tense, conjugated for the first person of the singular, for I, yo, right? And since in Spanish the person is already implied in the verb, the conjugated verb, like here, then the subject pronoun yo or I is redundant, right? So that means that we can omit it or we can include it, right? So we can simply say soy Rodrigo, right? Or we can say yo soy Rodrigo if we want to specify, to be a bit more redundant, to be more specific, that I am Rodrigo, okay? So many times people actually add the person, the subject pronoun, although it is not necessary, but just in order to give stronger feeling to the sentence, okay? For more emphasis. Juan va a ser padre. Juan va a ser padre. This means Juan will become father, right? Literally, word by word, it's Juan is going to be father, or will be father. This means in Spanish, I know in English it sounds awkward and it's wrong, but in Spanish, when you say Juan va a ser padre, you mean that he's gonna have a son, right? Or he's gonna have a child, and then he will become father. Okay? Same thing. Va a ser madre means will become mother. Él fue mi alumno. He was my student. Tú eres mi amigo. Tú eres mi amigo. You are my friend. Okay? You can see fue is past tense for he. Eres is present tense for you. Ellos fueron profesores. Ellos fueron profesores. 4 syllables. Profesores. Profesores. They were teachers or professors. Yo fui atleta. Yo fui atleta. I was an athlete, right? Only that in Spanish, you simply say atleta. You don't need to say un atleta, right? Because it's abstract, right? I was athlete. That's how you would say it in Spanish. And now look at this. This is the verb to be, ser, but with a different connotation. Look at this. Fueron ellos. This means it was them, right? Fui yo. It was me. If I say I was something, yo fui algo. But if I say fui yo, it was me. Fueron ellos, it was them. Specifying who was it, it was them. Fue ella, it was her. Right? So when you want to give that connotation, you first say the verb and then the subject, okay? If not, the usual way of speaking and writing in Spanish is always first the subject pronoun and later the conjugated verb, like all these examples here, okay? And like here. Tú serás un gran actor. Tú serás un gran actor. It means you will be a great actor. Now, vosotros, for you plural, vosotros tres seréis grandes comediantes. Vosotros tres seréis grandes comediantes. This means the three of you, vosotros tres means the three of you will be great comedians, right? So, grandes comediantes, right? Grandes for great. And since we are talking about plural, we say grandes and comediantes. So, vosotros tres, word by word, this would translate as you three, right? And it would mean the three of you. Vosotros tres seréis grandes comediantes. Okay, this is all for today, and next lesson I want to start showing you how to translate the verb estar, okay, into past, present and future. And the verb estar together with the verb ser corresponds to the English verb to be, right? But when do we use estar and when do we use ser? That's something I've taught already in the lesson number 4, so I strongly recommend you go to lesson number 4 to see which is the difference between verb ser and the verb estar, right? When we use one, when we use the other one, although in English they both translate as verb to be. So I want to show you this verb estar in past, present and future. I already showed you before this verb in present, but now we will see this again, and we will add past and future as we did already with the verb ser, okay? So I see you next time. Goodbye. Hi there. Today I will show you how to conjugate the verb estar. The verb estar, you spell it E-S-T-A-R, okay? The verb estar corresponds to the verb to be in English. However, as I mentioned before in one of our first lessons, the verb to be corresponds to two different Spanish verbs. Those are the verbs ser and the verb estar, right? So I mentioned before in a lesson I gave a deeper explanation on which are the differences between the verbs estar and the verb ser. Briefly now, let me tell you again. For example, if we say I am Rodrigo, right? I am a man. There we use the verb ser in Spanish, okay? We would say yo soy Rodrigo. Yo soy un hombre, okay? However, if we want to say a state, something that is not a permanent state or situation, something that can change, right? For example, I am happy, right? I am happy. Now I'm happy, later I may not be happy anymore, right? So that verb to be in Spanish, you use the verb estar, right? Not the verb ser anymore. So you would say, yo estoy contento. I am happy, right? Or for example, another thing, something that is a state that is not permanent. For example, I am running, okay? We would say, yo estoy corriendo, right? So that's briefly, again, I'm repeating what I taught in one of our first lessons regarding the differences between the verbs ser and estar, although they both translate in English into the verb to be, right? It's something like to make and to do, right? In English, these two verbs mean something similar, but in different situations you have to use either one or the other, right? You use either to make or to do. Yes? In Spanish we have only one verb that corresponds to those two verbs, so it makes it easier. It's the verb hacer, right? But here it's the other way around. The English verb to be has two Spanish verbs that mean the same thing, right? So we need to be aware of when we need to use one or the other. When we use verb ser, that we saw in the previous lessons, and the verb estar, So let's begin with the conjugation of verb estar in present tense, okay? In tiempo presente. Presente is present. Yo estoy. Yo estoy means I am. Tú estás, for you are. Él está, or ella está. He is or she is. Nosotros estamos. We are. Vosotros estáis. You are, you plural. Ustedes están. You are again, right? Remember that vosotros is as it's spoken in Spain, and ustedes, that's how they speak in Latin America, okay? So vosotros and ustedes are synonyms, they mean the same thing, only that this one is used in Spain, this one is used in Latin America, and they are both correct. Ellos están means they are. Okay, let's go, again, let me be redundant and repeat this again. Vosotros and ustedes are synonyms, but the conjugation of ustedes, for ustedes, is always exactly the same as the conjugation for ellos, or they, okay? You can see están, están, they are the same. This applies always for all the verbal tenses and for all the verbs in the Spanish language, okay? These two conjugate the same. Okay, in the past, right? Pasado, 3 syllables. Pasado, pasado. Yo estuve. Tú estuviste. Él or ella estuvo. Nosotros estuvimos. Vosotros estuvisteis. Ustedes estuvieron. And ellos estuvieron. Right? Is this one difficult? Estuvisteis. Vosotros estuvisteis. You were, right? That's the translation. Okay, this is the past for the verb estar. So you really need to try to remember this conjugation. And the difficult thing in Spanish is that there is one different conjugation for every single person, right? For every subject pronoun, yes? So, and these actually are irregular verbs, so you have to really memorize them. Let's take a look at the future tense, and this is the future that I teach you first because it's the one that's more similar to the English future, right? In English we use an auxiliary verb to will to make the future, right? To build the future tense. In this future, what I call future one, we also use a auxiliary verb to build the future, right? The future tense. In this case it's the verb to go. Verb to go in Spanish is ir, right? To go. Since to go is an irregular verb in Spanish, verb ir, it conjugates like this. You see, it's quite different. It begins with a, you see it begins with a V, right? So quite different than the root of the verb, that is this. So let's begin with the future. Yo voy a estar. This means I will be. I will be, right? This a means to, but this is a necessary word for building the future in Spanish, right? It would be like saying I am going to be, right? So this is the structure for building the future. Yo voy a estar. As you can see, we conjugate the verb ir, or to go, right? And later the verb that we are trying to conjugate, in this case estar, will go in the infinitive, okay? So let's go. Yo voy a estar. Tú vas a estar. Tú vas a estar. You will be. Él va a estar, or ella va a estar. He will be, or she will be. Nosotros vamos a estar. We will be. Vosotros vais a estar. You will be. Ustedes van a estar. You will be. Latin American. And ellos van a estar. They will be. Now this is the other future tense in Spanish, right? Both are future. This is the typical future tense in Spanish. And this is the one, another way of saying building the future that's similar to English. Let's see this one, although I expect it will be easier for you to continue using this one, okay? Yo estaré. Tú estarás. Él estará, or ella estará. Nosotros estaremos. Vosotros estaréis. Ustedes estarán. Ellos estarán. Ellos estarán. They will be. Okay? So, again, yo estaré, tú estarás, él estará, nosotros estaremos, vosotros estaréis, ustedes estarán, ellos estarán. Okay? So here we have the most frequent, the most used verbal tenses in Spanish for the verb estar, okay? Spanish has many more conjugations, right? But these are the most basic ones. So instead of confusing you with more verbal tenses right now, I will just focus on present, past, simple present, simple past, and future, okay? So this is the end of this lesson, and next time I will show you some sentences, some examples where we can use some of these tenses in some sentences, okay? So I see you next time. Hi there. This time we will see some sentences with the conjugations that we've seen in the previous lesson, okay? We are still with the verb estar, or verb to be, right? So, as we've seen before, here we have present, past, future number one, and another way of building the future in Spanish, right? So, here I will show you some sentences where we'll be applying these conjugations. We have the first one here. Ellos están juntos. Ellos están juntos. This means they are together, right? They are together. So this is present tense for the subject pronoun they, right? So this is here. Ellos están, right? Present. So ellos están would be this one here, right? Next is vamos a estar bien. Vamos a estar bien. This means we will be fine. Bien means well, right? So we will be well or fine. And since in Spanish the conjugated verb has already the subject, the person implicitly, right? We have omitted, because we may omit the subject pronoun, right? So I'm not saying nosotros vamos a estar bien, which is okay, it's correct, but I don't need to say nosotros for we. I don't need it, because vamos is already conjugation for nosotros, right? So vamos a estar bien is we will be fine. So this is future, right? From nosotros, vamos a estar, right? Vamos a estar bien. We will be fine. This is future number one. We can also say this same thing like this. Estaremos bien, using the other way of building the future, right? Estaremos bien. Again, here the word nosotros, right? We, the subject pronoun, is already implied. It's understood in the conjugated verb estaremos, so we can omit it as we did here. Estaremos bien is we will be fine. Next, él estuvo aquí ayer. Of course, we can, if we omit here ellos and él, the sentence is still grammatically correct because of the same reason we mentioned here, right? Okay. Él estuvo aquí ayer. It means he was here yesterday. So ayer means yesterday. Aquí means here. Él estuvo aquí ayer. So what's this? This is past, right? Simple past. Él estuvo here. Él estuvo. He was here yesterday. Tú y él estaréis con Juan. This means you and him will be with Juan. So con means with. And here, let's see, this may be tricky. That's why I chose this example. You and him means, are you already talking about a plural you, right? So the conjugation will be you plural. It will be either vosotros, right, or ustedes. We are talking about what tense? This is future. So here we are talking about future tense. Vosotros or ustedes. Vosotros or ustedes. Why? Because tú and él is already plural. You and him. So we are talking about vosotros and ustedes here. Let's see. Estaréis would be here. Estaréis. Let's see again. Tú y él estaréis con Juan. You and him will be with Juan. And the other way we can say this same sentence is tú y él vais a estar con Juan. Tú y él vais a estar con Juan. So, if the first one we used future number 2, here we are using future number 1. Vais a estar here. Vais a estar, right? Vais a estar. The subject is vosotros, right? You plural. You and him. And still we can say this in another way, right? Because here we were using vosotros vais a estar, or vosotros estaréis, which is the way it's spoken in Spain. But we can use the way that is spoken in Latin America with ustedes van a estar. So, let's look at the example below. Tú y él estarán con Juan. Tú y él estarán con Juan. This is ustedes estarán, right? Here. Tú y él estarán con Juan. And we can also use the other future, right? The other way of conjugating future tense. And we will say tú y él van a estar con Juan. Tú y él van a estar con Juan. Here, right? Future number 1. Van a estar. Van a estar, right? So, these 4 sentences mean exactly the same thing, right? It's always you and him will be with Juan, right? So we have 4 different ways for saying the future, for saying this same thing in future tense, and they are all the same, they are all correct, right? So this is the end for today, and next time I'll show you the verb haber, okay? That's verb to have. So I see you next class.